Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. Nigerian labor unions join counterparts worldwide to celebrate International Workers' Day, demand 65-year retirement age for civil servants. A Nigerian education loan fund immersed in financial scandal as ICPC investigates missing 71.2 billion naira. Also, police in Kenya say the killing of Member of Parliament in Nairobi was an assassination. Details coming up now. Now let's begin the news by telling you the Nigeria Labour Congress is calling for a nationwide review of the retirement age for all categories of civil servants. Speaking at the 2025 May Day celebration held at Eagle Square in Abuja, the national president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, demanded an upward review of the retirement age for all public sector workers. Ajero said it is only fair to extend the existing retirement terms 65 years of age or 40 years in service currently applied to teachers, healthcare professionals and judicial officers to every civil servant in the country. He pointed out that the policy, already in effect for some sectors following a law signed by former President Muhammadu Buhari, should be expanded to promote equity and recognize the dedication of all public workers. The NLC says it will continue to press for improved welfare, fair treatment, and stronger labor protections across all sectors of the Nigerian workforce.
Area Council, we are not happy. I am saying we are not happy because our entitlement, minimum wage, peculiar allowance, name them, the government are insensitive to apply to the FCT Area Council. They don't pay us our entitlement. Pension deduction, they will deduct pension and they will not pay it to appropriate quarter. So it's quite alarming. We are not happy in FCT Area Council.
Keep working hard despite the daunting economic challenges. Let's keep working hard. Let's keep putting up our best for the growth and betterment of the country. I believe the head of civil service organization is trying so hard to improve on the welfare of workers. And we hope all the measures he has put in place come to function so that workers can be able to reap the fruit of his labor while still in active service.
The thing we will do today is to make Nigeria happy. We thank God and thank our president with full support to be say long may you reign. But we still dey ask for the Nigerian, we ask make it help us. We no get road because if we work as well we dey follow road. We no get road. Is to help us and make the road be better. Is to help us and make Nigeria to be better.
It's a glorious day. My short message is just for our president and Demola Bakare to take the issue of worker welfare very, very important. We have been loyal to him, to his government, and he should reciprocate by giving us our welfare and our package, and to inspire us to perform. You understand? So the issue of minimum wage, you schedule it. The issue of just like the circular that was issued by the SGF 2 days ago, that they're going to be paid the balance of minimum wage installment. It is not good. You should pay it in full so that workers will be happy.
Still on May Day matters, in solidarity with their counterparts across Nigeria, workers in Delta State, South Nigeria, observed this year's Workers' Day celebration in Asaba, the Delta State capital. This year's Workers' Day theme is reclaiming the civic space in the midst of economic hardship. It provided the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress a chance to lobby for better welfare packages for their members. The occasion featured an array of events that made the day memorable.
Accommodation in the state capital and across the state generally has become a challenge for workers. Some years back, the junior and middle management quarters, popularly known as junior staff, was built for workers to be able to solve their accommodation challenge. But now, they have almost pursued workers out of the state capital. Some of us are coming from work as far as Akpo, Iseluku, Ila, Ukolu, Ogwashuku, Ibuzo. And it is not as if houses are cheap there.
The issue of low-cost houses for workers, let me assure Delta workers that this matter will be looked into seriously by the government, because everything you have said is true. We feel the pain that our workers feel, and this government will not just sit down and watch workers suffer. So the issue of housing will be seriously looked into. The insecurity on the land, the government is doing everything possible to ensure that Delta remain one of the safest places to live in. And I'm glad that as it is today, even with the few shortcomings, Delta State is one of the most peaceful states in this country. We know that insecurity is a national issue, but Delta State is doing whatever it can to keep us safe.
Now to political matters. In a surprising twist, the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has paid a visit to Nyesom Wike, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, at his Abuja residence after a protracted battle that divided the state along two major parallel political lines. Larry Olayinka, the minister's spokesman, confirmed the meeting, which aims at reconciling Fubara with his former boss. The meeting came a few days after Fubara's meeting with President Bola Tinubu in London over the Rivers political crisis. President Tinubu had declared an emergency rule in the oil-rich Rivers State and suspended Fubara and other elected officials for an initial 6 months. President Tinubu had reportedly instructed Governor Fubara to reconcile with Rivers State leaders. Acting on this instruction, Fubara visited Wike's Abuja home alongside a delegation including Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, former Ogun State Governor Olusegun Osoba, and other governors. Now joining us from Port Harcourt is Samuel Wanosike, leader, Ikwere LGA chapter of the New Associates, a political movement in Rivers State. You're welcome, Samuel. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity of sharing your platform with you.
You're welcome. Now, Samuel, is it safe to say peace is now finally returning to Rivers State?
Yeah, first of all, I'll start by thanking God Almighty for giving us a father figure in Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, who, in all ramification, is a true man of peace. We remember that when this crisis started, that he took his time off his difficult job to see that this does not skyrocket to where we are today. But we saw men who do not know where for Rivers State step into the matter and fuel this crisis and abuse Mr. President, called him a mother of name, but he's not from Rivers State and there's nothing constitutional about the work, about the decisions that is asking the governor to implement. And we were shocked because this same governor was there in that meeting and he agreed and signed to that peace accord. But not to dwell in the past, I want to say that Mr. President, in his wisdom, seeing that the way the crisis is going in Rivers State, even if the impeachment process has commenced, but if it does not step in, there will be a lot of destruction of lives and property. What about Nigerians who are making all the statements they are making? They know the truth. They are aware that a lot of people have threatened fire and brimstone based on ethnic sentiments to see what will happen if Fubara is genuinely impeached by the Constitution of Nigeria following due process. But Mr. President stepped in, and another opportunity has been availed to the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, to make amends. Now, remember, Fubara, one of his statements said, the peace accord provided by Mr. President, but he accepted it because of Mr. President's age. No, there is nothing legal or there's nothing constitutional about that piece that he was going to shop those he claim he wants to shop. But like as we may have it, now that the Supreme Court has provided a constitutional position on the matter, and it's all obvious that the suspended governor has breached all the laws of Nigeria known by the Constitution. Worst of it is spending funds belonging to Rivers people for entire 1 year without appropriation. The Supreme Court has also said clearly that for fear of impeachment, the governor burnt down the Rivers House Assembly with his colleagues headed by one of his stalwarts, Edison again.
Now, Mr. Wanosike.
And we want to say that, let me land, please, sir. We want to say that it is true that Fubara has paid a visit to our leader, Ezeboye. But you know, like our leader has made everybody understand that where we are now, it's no more all about Ezeboye. A lot of families have been hurt. A lot of persons who contributed their money, energy, time have been abused, their properties destroyed, their livelihood destroyed, and you need to make a proper reconciliation. And so he has agreed with Mr. President, asked the governor to come down from his high house and reconcile genuinely with the people of Rivers State. The governor knows
Mr. Wanosike,
so that we can have peace.
Due to time, I'll have to, yes. One last question, sir. So, are you privy to the terms of the settlement, and are they satisfactory to you?
It's simple. There are organs that make up every political family. For instance, we have Elders Forum, led by Chief Onabraba, Fedna Onabraba. We have the House of Representative Caucus, led by National Assembly Caucus, led by Senator Baden Pege. We have the House of Assembly, who are done the governor, led by Matthew Samehune. We have the sacked and suspended commissioners, led by the former Attorney General of the state. We also have the suspended and sacked chairman, led by the former mayor of Port Harcourt. All these are arms. And don't forget, these suspended local government chairmen were the campaign directors and coordinators of Fubara for government in 2023. They bought the brunt of that election. And the only way to pay them back is to embarrass them, call them names, and deny them opportunity to take care of their families, even when they are giving their all in managing the resources of the local governments to build a better tier. So the conditions are simple. All these persons to the round table, have a discussion with them, agree with them, then we all will meet. And at the end of the day, we move forward. But like our leader has said, it is not him alone as Wike. Yes, he's our leader. But he also understands, as our leader, that a lot of families have been hurt. And people need to see clearly that there is genuine peace. You cannot come and tell us that you're seeking for peace, then your supporters are protesting every day in the streets of Port Harcourt. They are bringing our mothers out from the villages and getting them stark naked in the streets. They are writing a manner of things in the social media, abusing people, and you say you're seeking for peace. I think he should, first of all those his supporters to order and let them know that, gentlemen, at this point, I am seeking for peace. You don't have to make my matters worse.
All right, then, Mr. Wanosike, I want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening to give your 2 pence on the matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Now going back to the May Day celebrations in Nigeria, it was a different story in Rivers State as the state chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress boycotted the annual May Day celebration on Thursday, gathering instead at their secretariat in Port Harcourt to demand the reinstatement of suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Deputy Governor Dr. Ngozi Odu, and members of the State House of Assembly. The action follows the declaration of a state of emergency in the state, which the NLC and other unions have condemned as unconstitutional. The NLC emphasized the importance of democratic governance for workers' rights and welfare. Placards at the rally included messages such as "Reinstate Rivers State Government" and "We want Governor Fubara back." The National NLC President, Joe Ajaero, had previously directed Rivers workers to abstain from the usual Labor Day celebration in protest of the absence of a democratic government in the state. And as the national, or rather nation, reflects on over a century of progress, the Nigerian labor movement has remained one of the strongest and loudest voices for workers and workers' rights, built on the sacrifices of men and women who dared to speak truth to power. Our correspondent Idong Joseph reviews the union's struggles and activities and brings us this report.
In the last century, Nigeria's labor movement has played a vital role in the nation's development, fighting for the rights of workers and ensuring that these rights are not being trampled upon by successive governments. The struggle for labor unionism began as early as 1912 with the Southern Nigeria Civil Service Union and the then merger of the Railway Workers Union with the Nigerian Union of Teachers in 1931. The sacrifices of many of these workers have continued to stand as a beacon of hope. The Railway Workers Movement, which became the first to gain legal recognition after being registered under the Trade Union Ordinance of 1938, gained momentum in the 1940s when workers across Nigeria launched a general strike against colonial rule. Under the leadership of Michael Imodo, the union witnessed significant strides, from demanding higher wages and the casualization of workers to the push for improved working conditions.
The ideals that led to the emergence of the trade union globally were the same ideals that led to the emergence of trade unions in Nigeria.
We know that labor played a central role in the fight, in the struggle against colonial rule, in the struggle against military rule, and then undemocratic governance processes.
The turning point for labor unionism came in 1978 when four major labor groups merged to form the Nigeria Labour Congress under the leadership of Wahab Jonathan, a seasoned unionist and former president of the United Labour Congress. However, internal power struggles and political interference led to the premature dissolution of his leadership by military government of General Olusegun Obasanjo. In the wake of that dissolution, Hassan Sumunu, a trained engineer and strong workers' advocate who brought stability to the Congress, was appointed as the substantive president of the NLC. Under his leadership from 1978 to 1984, the NLC launched several campaigns for improved working conditions, including the historic 1981 nationwide strike, demanding a national minimum wage and uniform salary structure that later birthed the first minimum wage acts. In the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, Nigeria's labor unions became formidable voices for workers' rights, compelling government actions on issues like minimum wage, pensions, and improved working conditions. One prominent name among those who led key struggles is Ali Chiroma, whose leadership opposed the structural adjustment program under military ruler Ibrahim Babangida, which eventually led to the suspension of the union in 1988. Pascal Bafion is immortalized through the National NLC headquarters built during his tenure. Between August and December 1993, the NLC under Bafion led two major strikes, first against fuel price hikes, and second, over dissatisfaction with the interim national government set by the then former head of state, Babangida. These actions led to another suspension of the labor movement in 1994 under General Sani Abacha. Adams Oshomole had his most heroic moment as NLC president. Under his leadership, workers embarked on 7 general strikes demanding better wages, resisting the regulation of the oil sector, and pushing back against the continued implementation of the nation's structural adjustment policies. The biggest general strike in post-independence Nigeria occurred under Abdulwahib Umar during the Goodluck Jonathan administration, following the removal of fuel subsidy and a spike in petrol prices. Ironically, Oshomole, then governor of Edo State, helped to broker peace between the protesting labor leaders and the federal government. While the struggles have not been entirely fruitless, many unionists today believe that the government still views unions as adversaries rather than partners in national development.
From beginning till now, didn't you hear when the NSC president was beaten up in Ora? These are hostilities.
We also remember what happened to the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress while he was on his way to represent Nigerian workers in an international trade union conference going on in UK. We remember the outreach by the whole world and by the Nigerian workers. All these ones are testimonies to how this particular government has treated us.
Despite the numerous setbacks, the labor movement has secured vital gains. But sustaining these victories requires a new kind of resilience and approach.
It is very, very important for labor to continue to organize, working with the civil society organizations, students' union movement, which used to be a major backup, for the Labor Congress in the past.
As Nigeria continues to evolve, so too must its labor movement. The fight for workers' rights is far from over, and the labor movement must once again rise to become not just a protest voice, but the conscience of the nation's progress. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Solidarity forever. Thank you very much.
And I'll go on our break, but when we come back, explosion in Giwa Barracks in Maiduguri caused by heatwave in Borno State. We'll give you the details when we return. Stay with me. Welcome back. Now, Maiduguri residents were jolted awake by a series of thunderous explosions emanating from the Giwa Barracks armory. The blasts caused by high temperatures in Maiduguri, according to the military, which led to the explosions of some munitions, has sent shockwaves throughout the city, which caused widespread panic. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report here.
Initially, a confusing situation for residents of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Series of loud explosions reverberated the city, which began late on the last day of April and continued into the few hours of May.
This thing happening just accidental. Nobody knows where the thing starts. When we hear shooting, we say, from where? Let us listen, so that we listen attentively to hear where the sound of the gun is. Now we is inside barrack. I said, if it's inside barrack, how can we do? Now we have to sleep here. But some of my friends, they run and leave me, according to what I tell you first.
To jiya dai duk muna kwance da daddare dai wasu dai suka fara kira na tun kafin abin yayi nisa, irin ya fara tashi kafin lokacin fire service ma ko mota uku ne suka zo. To wasu dai sun kira ni suna ce mun anya ba hari aka ba, na ce kai ni fa ban sani ba, ni ban ji ma me yake faruwa ba saboda ina bacci. To da na tashin da nayi kenan sai na ji karar abin yana ta karuwa. Dan da muka fito ta cikin gida ma kana tsaye in ka ji irin wani abu ɗaya ya fashe sai kaga kamar ma kanku kawai zai yi.
Eyewitnesses reported seeing thick plumes of smoke rising from the barracks, with debris scattered across nearby neighborhoods.
Rai bundusa lai aulasa hawar fa ya suru barikin nan zare kare ga nazande na shi mar konnu cizawa da da nan me na aka yi da awar obatu bade won am sura ya lo bade da an da ga na funye na village alan da ne na modani sudin awla su aka yi da awar hamzu ishe na man boye.
Sai mun tashi 12 da rabi ana jama'a mu gudu, to ba musamman me yake faruwa ba, sai aka ce mana cikin bariki ba lafiya. To mun dauka boko haram ne ma, sai aka ce a'a sto na kayan yakin su ne ya kama da wuta. To mun ta gudu dai alhamdulillah, amma mun ji gaba abun ya sauka. Mun waye gari cikin koshin lafiya alhamdulillah.
The explosion, according to statement issued by the acting deputy director, Army Public Relations Headquarters Theater Command, was due to the current high temperatures in Maiduguri, which led to the explosion of some munitions. The situation has, however, been brought under control with the combined efforts of the Federal and Borno State Fire Services and other fire trucks from security agencies.
The situation is calm, but authorities advise residents to always verify information before sharing it with others so as to avoid causing panic and tension in the society. From the Giwa Barracks area in Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Now, in the meantime, the theatre commander of Operation Hadinkai, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, on Thursday visited Giwa Barracks in Maiduguri to assess the level of damage caused by the explosions that occurred at the facility. Abubakar was received and conducted around the affected areas by the commanding officer of 73 Battalion alongside other senior military officers. He commended the gallant efforts of troops and the combined intervention of federal and state fire services in containing the fire, noting that the incident resulted in the destruction of the barracks' only armory. He urged members of the public not to panic, assuring that the situation had been brought under control. The explosion, which occurred late Wednesday, sparked tension across parts of Maiduguri, prompting emergency response and heightened security surveillance.
The explosion was due to the intense heat currently prevailing in Borno as well as other regions of the country, which had a direct impact on our storage facility. Fortunately, the situation was swiftly brought under control through the collaborative efforts of military firefighters, the Federal Fire Service, as well as the Borno State Fire Service departments and various firefighting vehicles from security agencies. Civilians in the immediate vicinity were also relocated to prevent any harm to the public. Furthermore, the Air Component Command Operation Hadinkai and the Nigerian Army Unmanned Area Vehicle Command conducted aerial surveillance over the incident scene and the surrounding areas of Maiduguri metropolis. These allowed them to determine the extent of the explosion and guide rescue efforts. Additionally, troops from Operation Hadinkai were strategically deployed to prevent any potential misuse of the situation by criminals and to safeguard law-abiding citizens. The Chief Executive Officer of the state was immediately informed, and all established protocols in emergencies like this strictly adhered to. Going forward, we will be conducting a comprehensive review of all storage facilities in order to mitigate the effects of the current high temperatures being experienced.
Now, in what has been described as a major breakthrough that could transform access to water in the Rano Emirates and surrounding communities, the Kano state government says that it has discovered a significant underground water source, an aquifer in the Tali YY area, known for its long-standing mining activities. The discovery was made public during the official visit of the governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf of Rano Emirates. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu here reports.
Governor Abba Yusuf being welcomed by hunters in Reno Emirate of the state. Armed with dangerous weapons, they are not allowed to use these on residents or take laws into their hands. After meeting with stakeholders, the business of the day ended with the state government announcing the discovery of a water formation also known as an aquifer that, if properly harnessed, can bring succor to the residents of the emirate. With this discovery, the state government has ordered the immediate exploitation of this resource with the establishment of a water treatment plant, a move welcomed by many in the area.
Guri ga su suna ta bulbulo da ruwa shine kuka gan shi a nan a kwanci. In Allah ya yarda kamar yadda ya yi bayani, za mu zo mu tabbatar da cewa an samar da matatan ruwa da injina wanda za mu gwada wannan magani na fara tura ruwa cikin garin Rano da kuma ƙauyukan da suke kusa da shi.
The Commissioner for Water Resources, Umar Dugwa, commended the governor for the discovery, saying that it was made possible following his directive to seek sustainable solutions to the persistent water scarcity problem that has plagued the Rano area for years.
Yaran da zurfinsa kuma ruwan nan yana da kyau sai maga cewa idan aka zo aka yi wani dedicated treatment plan a nan karami wanda zai ba cikin garin ranar ruwa ba sai an sa wuta ba da preja ma ruwa zai tafiya har cikin Rano saboda gurin ya sai sama sosai.
He added that the plant will be designed to treat and distribute water to Rano residents and its neighboring communities in a bid to ensure reliable access to clean water for domestic and agricultural use. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has initiated an investigation into alleged discrepancies in the disbursement of students' loans under the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. The investigation was prompted by a recent media report claiming that 51 tertiary institutions were involved in illegal deductions and exploitation related to the NELFund scheme. The implicated institutes allegedly made unauthorized deductions ranging from 3,500 naira to 30,000 naira from each student's institutional fees received through the loan fund. The statement on Thursday by Demola Bakare, ICPC spokesperson, said preliminary findings have revealed a significant gap in the financial records of the disbursement process. He noted that while the federal government released 100 billion naira for the scheme, only 28.8 billion naira was disbursed to students, leaving an unaccounted sum of 71.2 billion naira. Still on tertiary education, the United Action for Democracy, a coalition of pro-democracy and human rights groups, has restated its call for the suspension of the Vice-Chancellor of the Lagos State University of Science and Technology, Professor Olumuyiwa Odusanya, due to what it said were grave allegations of corruption against him. The group insists that the continued stay of the Vice-Chancellor in the office poses a threat to the stability of the institution, endangering credibility of justice in the current probe by security agencies, and may trigger an internal crisis with the school community.
We demand, one, the immediate suspension of Professor Olumuyiwa Odusanya as Vice-Chancellor to allow for transparent investigations and prevent further damage to Lasso State. We demand an appointment of an interim leadership to restore confidence in the university's administration and ensure accountability. We demand a full-scale forensic audit into the mismanagement of the 2 billion naira accreditation fund. We demand immediate prosecution of all individuals found culpable in the financial misappropriation to serve as a deterrent to future violations. We demand immediate halt of the intimidations and victimizations of workers, both academic and non-academic. And as you know, the UAD position on education is that we demand free, functional, and qualitative education compulsorily at all levels, both from primary, secondary, and university levels. So, where funds are being mismanaged at the university levels or whatever level is a big concern to us, because we are agitating.
Nigeria's bunkering sector, involving the supply of fuel to ships, is a significant player in the global market, particularly in West Africa. The sector is heavily concentrated around major ports like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and also Bonny Island, serving both domestic and international vessels, as well as the oil and gas industry. News Central's maritime correspondent, Neoma Obiaswalu, takes a look at what the government should be doing to ensure regulation in the sector is in conformity with international regulations.
Nigeria's location and vast coastline make it a major bunkering hub for the Gulf of Guinea and West Africa. The sector has significant potential for growth, particularly with the development of new ports like the Lekki Deep Sea Port and the Dangote Refinery. But there are challenges in its operations which require government agency to guide and ensure compliance with international conventions, and the tackling of illegal bunkering is a major concern in Nigeria with its related security issues. The International Maritime Organization, IMO, plays a crucial role in the bunkering industry by setting global standards for safety, security, and environmental protection, ensuring compliance with international regulations which Nigeria is expected to uphold. In Nigeria, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency NIMASA should be responsible for implementing and enforcing IMO regulations. The question that begs for answers will be, how has NIMASA fared in this role?
All issue of bunkering is supposed to be under NIMASA, and therefore they are supposed to do the activities. But so far, I do not believe they have, and I do not believe they put in place guidelines for the bunkering of vessels. But the issue of for bunkering of vessels is actually the sole responsibility of NIMASA. And even with the PIA, NNDPR does not have the responsibility at all to carry that activity, because NNDPR must respect international conventions as signed into by Nigeria.
Industry reports suggest that this role is being carried out by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, which leads to another question. Does the Petroleum Industry Act PIA give NMDPRA the power to enforce IMO regulations within Nigeria?
I happened to see the draft guideline that was developed by NMDPRA, and they had cited Section 111, Section 174, and Section 201 of the PIA as empowering them to delve into the activities of bunkering operations. But if you go back to the PIA itself, you clearly see that does not deal at all with bunkering operations.
The ship owners and also the bunker associations, they need to go and make their case very clear to the federal government. And they need to make this case clearly on the point of law and the point of international conventions. What NNDPR is a total breach of international conventions and local laws. That is what it is. First of all, even the coastal vessel license they issue, they don't even have the right and the powers to issue that. Because anything related to maritime, whether it is vessels inspections, or whether it's vessel certification, or whether it is whatever it's supposed to do, is so what is happening now is that the master is inspecting you on one side and charging you, and the NNDPR is doing the same thing. Look, we have to be very clear on this.
Crude oil stealing is crude oil stealing. Bunkering is a genuine process of refueling vessels, not stealing. But when you say, in the Nigerian parlance, when they go to steal crude oil, they say it's illegal bunkering. There's no word like that. Crude oil stealing is crude oil stealing.
The maritime industry awaits indigenous ship owners to speak on the coastal vessel license levy and how government will work on the sector's foreign dominance, take advantage of the oil bunkering sector to maximize local oil production supply to guide against losing out on the global bunkering industry estimated to hit $210 billion by 2027. In Lagos for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
Coming up, Mali's junta chief Assimi Goïta wins backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. We'll tell you more after the break. Stay with us. The news continues in East Africa, where Kenyan police say the killing of Member of Parliament Charles Ongwondo Were appears to have been a targeted and premeditated attack. The legislator was shot late Wednesday while in a car on Nairobi's busy Ngong Road. Witnesses say the gunman, riding on a motorbike, opened fire before fleeing. Were was rushed to Nairobi Hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. His driver and a passenger were unharmed. Police say investigations are underway and pledged to leave no stone unturned. President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga, whose party Were belongs to, both paid tribute, calling him a dedicated public servant. The killing has shocked the nation and raised urgent questions about political violence and security.
We wish to indeed confirm the death of our colleague Honorable Ongwondo Were. We were just with him in Parliament a few minutes ago, and shortly after that we got word that he had been shot dead.
There is a way of violence that is creeping up in Homa Bay politics that must be tamed by law enforcement authorities. It has ended up ending in a life gone of a member of parliament who is a servant of the people, and I don't think we are ready to lose any more life.
And political parties are speaking out as fears grow over possible dissolution by the ruling military junta. Despite a harsh crackdown on dissent and a rapidly shrinking civil space, opposition voices are growing louder. The junta recently repealed the national charter governing political parties, sparking alarm among legal experts who warn it could pave the way for a total ban. This follows a national consultation held in Bamako, where participants recommended dissolving political parties and tightening rules for forming new ones. However, exiled opposition figure Omar Moriko says Malians fought hard for democracy and won't stand by as it is dismantled. The move marks another step by the junta in consolidating power amid increasing domestic and international concerns. Thousands of demonstrators gathered at Place d'Italie in Paris to take part in the annual May Day March, marking International Labour Day. Carrying banners and chanting slogans, participants called for better wages, improved working conditions, and stronger protections for workers' rights. And now to Caracas in Venezuela, where we have live pictures of workers holding a rally presently. Caracas, Venezuela, where workers are holding a rally against disputed elections there. Now, tensions are escalating between India and Pakistan following a deadly attack in Kashmir, prompting urgent international calls for calm. For News Central, international correspondent Afia Hagen has the latest development from this volatile region.
The United States has urgently called on India and Pakistan to de-escalate after violence intensified following an attack in Indian-administered Kashmir that killed 26 people on April 22nd. India blames Pakistan for orchestrating the attack, prompting Prime Minister Narendra Modi to grant complete operational freedom to Indian military forces. Pakistan firmly denies involvement, claiming it has credible evidence that India is planning a retaliatory military strike. Islamabad warns that any aggression from India would provoke a decisive response. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio personally contacted top officials from both countries, urging cooperation from Pakistan in investigating the attack and appealing to India to engage in dialogue to maintain peace and stability in South Asia. Meanwhile, on the ground, gunfire exchanges have continued for a 7th consecutive night along the heavily protected line of control. Residents in border regions living in constant fear are preparing bunkers and receiving emergency training amid growing uncertainty. Indian authorities have issued wanted notices for 3 men linked to the Pakistan militant group Lashkar-e-Taiba, offering significant rewards for information. Diplomatic relations have further deteriorated, with airspace closures and expulsions intensifying tensions. The disputed Kashmir region has long been a flashpoint, with both nuclear-armed nations having fought several wars since 1947. With civilians once again caught in the crossfire, the international community anxiously watches as India and Pakistan navigate one of the most serious confrontations in years. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
Business now. International Labour Organization Director General Gilbert Humbo has called on global policymakers to make decent work, labor rights, and inclusive growth key priorities in their economic strategies. Humbo criticized the fragmented nature of current policy approaches and advocated for integrated macroeconomic strategies centered on employment. On Business Edge, Lekan Onabanjo engaged in a discussion with lawyer and public affairs analyst Liberal Soshoma, who shared his perspective on the feasibility of prioritizing decent work and labor rights within capitalist economies where profit-driven policies often take precedence over social considerations.
Where there is scarcity, the owners of the employer now observe the rules in breach, and so especially where the rules, the law or consequences are not as strong. They are not as strong. So the little jobs that are available, you find out that the welfare of the worker takes second field. And then the workers themselves, the situation where some persons are, elevated above others, and because of, mind you, scarcity here, because of the positions, you find out that those people who are supposed to also take care of the welfare of their colleagues, become part of the employers who, at the end of the day, would, breach these rules. That's why it's not just enough to discuss all of these things on paper. There should be concerted efforts. There should be intentionality in ensuring that, there is regional development. There is also the framework to ensure that employment is intentionally created. Any workforce that does not make the...
And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories brought your way. Nigerian labor unions have joined counterparts worldwide to celebrate International Workers' Day, demanding 65-year retirement age for civil servants. And Nigeria Education Loan Fund enmeshed in financial scandal as ICPC investigates missing 71.2 billion naira. Also, police in Kenya have said the killing of a member of parliament in Nairobi was an assassination. Now, do remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number displayed on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Apio.